We love a good show just as much as the next person.
The plot, the characters, the twists and turns.
Sometimes it all needs a deeper discussion
We're two babes just giving the people what they want on
on
mystery,
mystery,
murder,
murder,
and
and
melanin.
melanin.
Welcome back to Mystery, Murder, and Melanin. I'm your co-host, Yelly.
And I'm your co host, Harmony. Today, we've got a lot to cover and go over and break down on episode 7, Netflix show Beauty in Black.
Yes, this episode was so wild. Let's dive right on in.
All right, so you guys know we like to go over the characters, see any new characters coming up this episode. We have Silvo. He's a male stripper that we'll talk about. There's a parking attendant that we'll talk about. And then we all know our characters. Kimmy's our main girl, going through it. Mallory, our main bitch in charge. Roy, her husband, who is off the drugs and delusional. We've got Charles, his brother. Jules, he is in security. He's like a pimp over at the strip club. He's in security. We have Horace, who's our VIP zaddy and also like a leader of the Bellary industry. Norman is his brother, also a leader of the Bellary industry. And he is also, we see, has ties to Jules. We have Ina, who is Norman's wife, who got hit by the car. We have Angel, our Latin dancer, and he's also tied to Kimmy. We've got Calvin. He is Mallory's driver. He's with security. We have Jillian. She is Mallory's assistant and also has ties to Calvin. And like she's doing this whole trying to get up underneath Roy also. And then we also see a little bit of Varney, who is the Bellary family lawyer, and he also is connected to Charles.
Lots and lots of characters in here, y'all. So we start off this episode with Norman. Well, actually, first, let's remember that the last episode ended in a shooting spree of Norman shooting the doctor, the nurses, the ambulance drivers, just everybody that was in the ambulance. So remember that
Wild.
happened. So at the beginning of this episode, Norman pulls up to the tow yard. My first thought immediately was like, okay, clearly nobody's looking for him because he's just out here without a care. He's not concerned about cops. He's not anything. So
Right.
I'm like, I don't know. Maybe people just don't know yet because we'll get a little tidbit later on. But yeah, immediately I was like, he's just out here. Like he's not seeming concerned. But he pulls up to the tow yard, the same tow yard that Mallory's vehicle was brought to that had his wife in it. So he speaks to the parking attendant or the attendant that's there, like when you first enter the tow yard. And the attendant is kind of coming off like, I don't really want to be bothered. Like, listen, I already talked to the cops. Like, I don't have anything else to say. And then Norman says, well, he was like, well, my wife, she was the one that was here. And so the attendant, he's like, oh, I'm sorry. Like my brother, he was killed that night. Because his brother was the attendant the night that they brought the vehicle. And when they had brought the vehicle, Jules's guys that showed up to like take care of everything, they instantly like shot him. So this parking attendant, he's like, yeah, my brother was killed. And he was like, and they made me clean up everything. And Norman's like, I'm sorry for your loss. And the parking attendant's like, I'm sorry for your loss. But Norman's like, listen, though, do you know anything? Did you see anything? Are there any cameras, like any footage, anything? And the parking attendant's just like, listen, I already gave everything. That, I mean, they took it. Like they took everything. So there's nothing here. And then Norman shows the parking attendant a picture. And at first, I couldn't tell. I was like, is that a picture of Roy? And because I was watching on my
Yeah,
iPad. I was like, is that a picture of Roy? So I
I
put
thought
my
of
iPad
Roy
like
too.
all the way up and I was like, no, maybe that's Jules. But I thought it was Roy. And Norman
It's
shows
Jules. It was Jules.
okay. Yeah, because I was like squinting. But Norman shows the parking attendant this picture and he's like, do you know who this is? And the parking attendant is just like, I don't know who it is. And Norman sees a picture hanging up behind the brother. I mean, behind the parking attendant, and he's like, "Oh, is that your brother?" And it's a picture of the parking attendant's brother standing in front of the yellow, I don't know what kind of vehicle that is,
Lambo.
Lambo. And instantly I was like, wait, isn't that Charles's car?
I didn't know right away, but yeah.
Yeah, when I saw it, I instantly thought about the scene where the mom was pulling up to the house like a few episodes back. And I was like, wait, so does that mean the parking attendant's brother, maybe was dealing with Charles at some point? Because he's standing in front of this yellow Lambo, or either Charles's car had got towed for some reason to this particular tow
Yeah,
yard. And then the parking attendant, it's a nice car. He just want to take a
right.
picture in front of it. So he sees that. And I think his wheels are turning in his head.
Yeah,
Um, and so that was just kind of like that scene. Norman didn't get anything new out of this parking attendant, but he just saw that picture. And so I think that just probably planted something in his head.
definitely clicked in his head. I definitely made a mental note of like, okay, what is this yellow car gonna have to deal with? And then I also in this clip was like, Jules got caught in a lie because he showed him that picture of Jules and asked if
Hmm.
he saw this person before. And it was a picture of Jules, and he was like, oh, Jules, he said that he came here and spoke with you. So that's when I
Mm.
feel like he just caught Jules in a lie.
Yeah, I didn't even catch that.
So next we see Mallory is at the office. Jillian is helping her with her coat, and Calvin is there as well. And then we see Roy come into the office. Hi. And so Mallory tells Roy to go on home. Roy, you're out of it. He's smoking. He's on his high horse saying that he runs his family's company and that Mallory doesn't run anything. Mallory's rolling her eyes. She's like, you think you run this? She's like, you're pathetic with these drugs. And Roy's like, you know what? I could really sabotage this lawsuit. She's like, what? He says, y'all work for me, especially you, bitch. And Mallory slaps the taste out his mouth, like, who you think you talking to? And Roy, surprisingly, yokes up Mallory and pushes her down to a chair. Calvin pop in quick as hell. He
Hmm.
like, Mallory, you okay? She kind of in shock. She like, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Roy start cursing right away. He like, get out. Like, who you talking to? Mallory, you call her Mrs. Bellery. And she's like, I'm fine, I'm fine. Calvin don't care what Roy got to say. He just looking at Mallory like, you good? And he
Hmm.
still doesn't move when Mallory's like, I'm good, you can leave. And so Roy like, yeah, woo, 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 talking his shit. And he tries to go and punch Calvin. Calvin do a swift step to the side, and Roy is on the ground. I'm like, oh my goodness, this
Embarrassing.
embarrassing. And so Calvin, he's like, we gotta stroke his ego now. Like, this is your boss, man. You can't just have this man like on the ground now out of it, and you
Yeah.
could continue to like rub whatever in his face, like because you really should be backing down. Like you work for them.
Hmm.
And so he starts stroking his ego, like, your car is waiting for you downstairs. Like, you run this, yada, yada, yada. Like, Mallory can help you home. And I feel like a lot of people like are trying to stroke Rory's ego at different times. If- But I
Yeah.
feel like I would feel even more stupid in these moments.
Yeah. And I feel like it's so obvious when they're doing it. Like,
Hmm.
like he has to pick up on it,
He
but he
has
doesn't.
to. So he's like, I don't need your charity. Leave me alone. Like Jillian, yeah, she could take me home. And then I was like, yeah, Jillian, make sure she gets home. Make sure he gets home safely. And Jillian like does this side eye, like, yeah, I'll make sure he gets home safely. Jillian and Rory exit, and then Mallory and Calvin exit.
Yeah. Interesting little scene there for sure. But Calvin was
Wild.
being smart. He played his smart by trying to like, obviously that would be embarrassing to any man. I think like you tried to
Yeah.
just punch this dude and then you fall. So he's like, listen, I just didn't want you to do anything. You regret it. I'm just here to help. Like, I don't want you
Yeah.
in here getting no types of domestic violences up in this office.
Hmm.
So after that, we are back at Varney's place, and Charles is just chilling. He's spread out on the bed, like when you're just home chilling on your phone. He's like laying on his stomach, just texting whoever on his phone. And Barney comes in instantly, and he apologizes. And Charles is like, I don't care. I'm still going out because the last episode, Charles was telling him like, I'm going to go out tonight. And Barney was trying to tell him like, listen, your mom says that you should probably not be out. Like, you should just stay here. So Charles is still on this like, he's adamant that he's going out. And, Barney is obviously cares about him and wants to protect him. And he's like, I love you. But Charles is just not trying to hear it. And Charles, Barney's like, well, where are you going? Where are you going? And Charles like, why do you want to know? You're not going to want to go where I'm going. And he's like, maybe. Like, so where are you going? Charles is like, I'm going to a bisexual strip club. And Barney's just like, obviously, he's not going to be going here because he cares about his image. He's an attorney. He doesn't really want to be out and about with this type of image, for him. And so Barney's like, Charles, you just want me to be loud and proud, but like it's not good for my business. And Charles is just like, so you want them to like run your life? Because Barney's like, oh, it's like the good old boy business. I can't just be out here like doing anything. And Charles is like, but you should be like living your life. Like this is your life. And Barney's like, well, I let my private life be my private life. And, he's like, he's finally at a place in his life where he has a job that can pay his bills. And basically, he's well off. He's not rich like Charles is, but he's in a good spot. And,
Yeah.
Charles is like, listen, you give me this story all the time. Like, I hear it all the time. Like, he's just like, that's not enough of an excuse for him, for Varney to basically not just be like out, out. And so, Varney, he's like, well, I'm going to stay at this apartment. Charles is saying he's still going to go out. And, Varney's like, okay, well, I'll be waiting for you to come back here. Charles is like, I don't want to come back. Like, I want to go to my house. Varney is like, listen, you can come back here. And basically, like, if you're going to bring some little man from the club, like bring him back here, which I'm pretty sure he was just joking, being like funny and joking with Charles about this. I don't think
I
he
don't know. I don't know. He might have been serious. He like, I want you and your freak offs
he wasn't giving to me like he's the type that would be like wanting to partake in the
to
sharing,
watch.
but
Watch. He wants his man to be his full self in his presence. You come do that here, I'll watch you.
right, like as long as I know you're safe, like you can do whatever.
Yeah.
I guess I can kind of see that vibe too. And so, Charles, he's like, he asked like really nice, like, does that mean I can go out? And Barney's like, fine, be safe. So then Charles like gives him the kiss. He's like instantly happy. He's like, yay, bye, see you later.
That was a cute little scene between them.
Yeah.
So back over at the strip club, Body and Delinda are talking when Kimmy and Angel walk in to get ready for their night of work. Body and Delinda always talking shit to Kimmy when she walked past. So Angel gets into his dressing room and a buddy walks up and he's like asking Angel if they still down to rob Horace tonight or rob Buddy tonight. And he's like, shh, like Angel's like, dude, be quiet, like lower your voice, like. And so he's like, yeah, everything is still on, you gotta keep it low key. And so this is Silvo. And so he agrees to do this for 30,000, 30 bands. And he's like, you just want him held, right? So I'm guessing like they're about to do like an armed robbery or hold him until they get the money from him because Angel's like, yes, we're gonna blackmail him until he gives us the money.
Hmm.
And so Angel says, this could get messy, you still down? And Civil's like, yeah, you said 30 bands, so let's do it. Like he good for the 30 bands. And so the plan, Angel says, is he's going to convince Horace to take him home tonight, and he wants Silvo to follow them back to the house. And so Silvo's like, you sure you got the juice like that? And he's like, this man had a $1 million watch on. Like, yeah, he got it like that, and we're gonna make sure we get back to his house. And he's like, oh man, you could just give me the watch whole time. And he's like, nah, 30. You agreed to 30, you getting 30. I'm like, dang, how Silver gonna split 30 up between somebody or everyone involved gonna get 30?
Right. And now this kind of makes me think like, what is the extent of their plan? Because like he's mentioning the watch. So it's like, okay, y'all gonna blackmail him into giving y'all the watch so then you could sell it? Or are you gonna blackmail him and like, are you gonna just take stuff? Are you
I don't know
like
if they're
what?
gonna take stuff, if he's gonna give them money. Like that's what I would think. Like they would be like, where's the money in the house? Like
Hmm.
Most people with money have money in their house or jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
Get a couple pieces of jewelry. I
Yeah.
don't know. I think that's where it could get messy too, where
Mm-hmm.
you said, last episode, something's going to go wrong with this plan.
Yeah. Especially now that he's bringing somebody else into it, and it's like,
Hmm.
whoa, when did this guy get in it? Because this is our first time seeing him.
More
But
people,
yeah.
more problems.
So then we have this like little scene where Body, she's bullying Kimmy like usual. She is just there talking shit. And Body, the other strippers are in the room, and Body just keeps saying, like, oh, I have this girl. Like, I can't wait for y'all to see this girl I'm bringing in. Like, she's going to be everything. She's everything. And, Body also asks Kimmy if she's having sex with Angel. And Kimmy's like,
Hmm.
no. And Body's like, I know y'all are up to something. And, she just keeps going on about like how she has this new girl coming in. She tells Kimmy, I can't wait for you to meet this new girl. She's like, she's 16. And Kimmy's like, is that even legal? And Body's like, everything in here is illegal. Like, nobody's
Hmm.
worried about this girl's age. But she was just like, I can't wait for you to meet her.
I'm scared.
I'm scared too, because I'm like, wait, 16? I know she's not talking
Yeah.
about Kimmy's sister.
I know she ain't talking about Sylvie,
Can't be.
but how she pressing, I can't wait for you to meet her. Might very well.
Yeah. Mm,
So then we go over, Jillian goes to talk to Calvin while he's getting some coffee. They're still at the office building. And, it's late night after this incident. I'm surprised Jillian ain't go home. Like, Jillian, you supposed to be with Roy accompanying him home. What you hounding Calvin for again? Like, girl, go find you some business. But her business is Calvin, that she makes quite clear in this situation.
hmm
And so she comes over, she's like, oh, so you defending Mallory now? He's like, girl, what? And so she's giving very jealous vibes. She calls him her boyfriend. And he's like, I am not your boyfriend ever since you slept with the boss. I'm like, oh my goodness. Like Calvin is giving very much cold shoulder to Jillian right now and trying to make her look like she's crazy.
hmm
He's very much gaslighting her because a couple episodes ago, the first or second episode, he was all mad when he heard that she possibly gave him head, which nothing was even concluded or conclusive that she slept with Roy or even did anything with Roy.
hmm
And I feel like he was quick to throw her away.
Right.
And so she's like, I'm going to get back at you if it's the last thing I do. And he's like, why do you want to do that? Like, what you want to get back at me for? She's like, because you did everything to me. You made me tell you all these things about Mallory just for you to believe me for her. And I'm like, oh, dang. So Calvin been trying to get information on Mallory this whole time. So like, has he really been plotting on Mallory this whole time? Because anybody could want to be with Mallory for a number of reasons.
hmm
Money, clout, fame, riches. And she a bad bitch. So
Yeah. He's definitely been strategic, and I would love to know his backstory as to how he got into everything, because like obviously they're employees, and we know like all their employees typically are owing them money minus
yeah,
Barney, the lawyer. So
right.
I would love to know like how did he get into things, and is that what is fueling him basically, it seems, trying to get like some dirt, I think, or build up some dirt on
Yeah.
Mallory.
Yeah, so that whole messy scene ends. He like walks out, leaving Jillian stirring in her own jealousy there.
Then the next scene we see, Horace, he's pulling up to his fave spot, the strip club, but instantly he sees Charles's car there, and he's just like, never mind, I don't want to go in because like the person outside, like bouncer, parking person, is like, hey, we'll take your car. And Horace is like, oh no, I'm actually just leaving. And he's like, no, 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 listen, we actually have a drive-through. You could just go to the back.
Go on to the drive-through.
Go back there. And Horace like, I did not even know y'all had that. And this guy is like, yeah, we can get Body out here. And Horace like, no, I want Kimmy. And the person's like, really? He like, you want Kimmy?
You
Like,
want Kimmy
stop
lame
playing on my
ass?
girl, Kimmy. She
They
got
play her.
a loyal customer, okay? And so Horace, he drives around the back, and y'all, when he gets to the back, he's looking
Mm,
around, y'all. It is basically like a sex fest happening back there. Like everybody with their cars. You got people inside the cars getting down. People on top of the front of the cars, on the back of the car. Like they're all over these cars just getting down and dirty, y'all.
Tyler Perry, no, he wild for this scene.
He is.
So back inside the club, the men are dancing. They getting it. Silvio up there, boom, 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 boom. So Charles at the bar and Silvio walks up and Charles instantly on that trying to get Silvio to go home with him. And Silvio says that line that I feel like Angel said before too, like, I only dance. I'm like,
Hmm.
oh man, these dudes talking about they only dance. I don't know what y'all be getting into.
No, for
Because then Sylvia's like, how much you talking? Like, how much can I make? Charles is like, we'll see. We'll see. You gotta come back and see. And Salvo's asking him if he's got candy, and Charles is like, yeah, we got drugs. And so Salvo tells him to meet him in the bathroom. And Charles is like, why can't we just go to VIP and like do all this in VIP? And so Silvio lets us know that male strippers are not allowed in VIP. And so they agree to meet in the bathroom later. Charles and him, give each other a look and he walks off.
At first, I couldn't really like when Silo first walked up, I couldn't tell if he was just playing his part in terms of like, I'm gonna say what I need to say to get what I'm trying to get, which is drugs and money,
Hmm.
or if he was like really, really like that.
I don't think he really liked that. I think he gonna do something, maybe I do something strange for a little change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He might. That's what it was giving though, because I was like, yeah, he doesn't really seem like he's like instantly like, okay, yeah, like let's go to the bathroom. It's like, no, I'm gonna, get something out of this if I'm gonna be doing anything, but not that he wants to do anything.
Yeah.
So after this, Mallory tells Jillian to go home. Jillian's like, I don't mind waiting, and Mallory's like, why are you always challenging me? Like, if I tell you to do something, just go do it. Like,
Talk too much.
for real, like Jillian, if somebody is always insulting me, like as soon as they tell me I can go home, I'm going home. I don't want to be
I
around you. Like, so after that, Mallory has Calvin come into the office and, she's asking him some questions. She's like, where did you go to college? How did you get this job? So here I was like, okay, so we know that she doesn't know every single thing that's going on. So it's like, even this, she doesn't know whatever he's tied into with Jules as to why he's even working. And he says Jules. And so Mallory is like, listen, don't get in between me and my husband again. That little scene, that little move you was pulling earlier, like, yeah, don't do that again. And Calvin's basically like, well, if he does something like that again, like, I'm going to step in. And so Mallory's like, you're arrogant. You're an arrogant person. And then she's
Mhm.
like, do you trust Jules? And Calvin says that he does. And so Mallory's like, well, that means if you trust Jules, then I don't trust you because I don't trust Jules. And, Mallory tells Calvin to remember his place. And he's like, oh, I remember my place last night. He was like, I felt right at home. I was tucked in. I was tucked in. I felt right at home. And her look, she's just like, I can't believe you're talking to me. And she's like, talking to me like this. And she's like, who do you think you are? And he's like, did I F you good last night, mommy? And she's just like, why are you talking to me like that? Her
What
face,
the?
this is like really, the woman was stunned. She was stunned. She could not speak.
Speechless.
And, she gets up, she starts patting him. She's like, are you wearing a wire? Like,
Mhm.
why are you talking to me like this? And he was like, because you want me to. And then,
Period.
he's like, he's trying to put on this like coy, flirtatious little like, oh, you're trying to act like you don't want me to be this kind of like dominating figure, but like you like it. And so he's like, did you enjoy me? And he was like, you know what? I get it. You might be embarrassed. You're sleeping with the security slash driver. Da, da, da. And, he's like, but your husband's going to be out all night. You can invite me up to your room at your house and I'll have more space than the car. And she's like, you need to leave. Which I was proud of my girl Mallory right here. I was like, yes, girl. I know that you want him, but like, yes, tell that man to leave.
Like, get your finger from between my legs. He
He
said,
was really
sure.
tripping. He was really tripping. Like,
He
this is
tasted
where
his
I
finger.
think he's so like, I feel like he tries too hard.
He was.
And it's just like, sir,
Simmer
honestly.
down.
It's not needed. You don't need to do
I kind of was liking the energy for Mallory. Mallory need to be knocked down a couple pegs, and I think he might be laying it down because she
it.
would
See,
have tore him a new wrong one. Like,
my thing though is like, okay, we see that Roy can be like that, at least with Kimmy, in terms of like talking to Kimmy. Obviously, he don't be talking to her in like
can
no
you back
sexy
it
type of
up?
way, you know? But it's just like, so what is it? What's the disconnect with them, you know?
They're not having sex, and Calvin just I think that he only went down on her that
Hmm.
night in the car. I feel like
Yeah.
it's only been the car situation. And for
Hmm.
Calvin to be piping up like this just after one car incident, like, dude, calm down.
No, for real.
But she looked like she liked it to me.
Oh yeah, yeah. She looked like she like that's what I'm saying. Like I could like she wants him, but I was proud of her to be like, leave, you know, still pulling
Yeah.
her boss move. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And
I
she basically fired him in that moment too. She was like, I'm gonna get another driver. I'll have Jules get me another driver. Like, you're done.
yeah, hang it up.
Hanging up. So back at the club, Delinda tells Kimmy that her VIP zaddy is out back. And Kimmy gives Angel a heads up that she's heading out back. And so Horace says, you didn't tell me this was going on back here. And Kimmy's cryptic ass, she's like, I'm sure you know about everything that's going on here. He's like, what? Okay, whatever that means. And so he's like, gives her an address where he wants to meet tonight. And she's like, oh, we're not going back to your place? Or is this your place? And he basically is like, that, yeah, this is my place. We're not going to the main house though tonight. And he's like, I know you got to get paid. Hands her a wad of cash. And she's like, oh, yeah, okay, thanks. And he's like, you making this kind of money. Like, why are you still staying at that motel? And she's like, you can give me all the money in your bank account. And I know that it's all just going to go back to you. Again, cryptic ass. And
Hmm.
he's just still confused. Like, what are you talking about? Like, after all I've done for you, I think you'd have a little more gratitude, basically, is what he tells her.
Hmm.
And she's sarcastically like, "Ugh, yeah, you're right. Okay, thank you." And so I'm like, what have all you done for her?
Yeah.
Basically, Kimmy's been doing everything for you, getting you to see, Angel and like running around for you, you sneaking around here, she pulling, Angel to the side for you, bringing him here and there and keeping it discreet.
Hmm.
She's been keeping it discreet. And so they agree to meet later tonight and she's going to bring Angel. And so back in the club, women are dancing. Kimmy hands Body and Delinda the money and they take the money from her. And, they start laughing and they clown and do like, oh, he came fast. And Body like, he would have came faster for me. Like, mm-mm.
So we see Norman, he's called Jules, and Jules like, oh, you finally like, called me back. And Norman's like, why have you been trying to call me so much? And Jules is like, well, I just want to know like why you were asking some other guy named Alan, who apparently is part of like their team, that you needed a cleanup. Like, why didn't you ask me? And Norman tells him that his wife is dead. And Jules is like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, it was so fake, y'all. It was not giving that you're actually sorry. And Norman's like, no, you're not.
Period.
Norman clocked it. Norman's like, no, you are not. And Jules says, well, Norman, he's back on this, like, have you found out any information? And Jules is just like, listen, I don't know anything, but like Roy's vehicle's fine. Nothing's wrong with it. Mallory's vehicle's fine. Nothing's wrong with it. Charles's vehicle's fine. Nothing's wrong with it. Like none of them hit Ina. And so Norman is like, I can't trust you. And Jules is like, now don't start acting brand new, Norman. Like we been in this. We got the businesses that, and Norman's just like, yeah, I can't trust you. And then he's like, fuck you, and hangs up on Jules. And I was like, oh yeah,
Period.
y'all done really pissed Norman off.
Yeah, done pissed him off. So Salvo finds Charles in the bathroom doing lines. He like, ooh, okay. Charles like, you want some of this? And so Sybil takes a bump of it and he's like, oh, this is some good stuff. You got money? Like Sybil looking real thirsty now. And Charles like, yeah, yeah, I got money. And he's like, oh, okay, I like you. I like some rich mugs. And so off the bat, he like pulls Charles about to bend him over. This is the deepest I ever heard Charles. He said, hey, get the fuck off of me. like, what you doing? Not here, man. Not like that. He's like, Sil was like, man, I gotta go get back to work. Like, what you want to do? Charles was like, okay, okay, not here, not like that. Like,
Right, not in the
I got,
bathroom.
I got a nice place, a nice bed. We got some more candy. Like, we can go back to my place. Like, that's what I'm trying to do. So Sil was like, how much? Like, how much can I get? I feel like maybe this might be the first time Silvo's done this because he's asking all these questions, like,
Hmm.
how much can I get? He's really questioning, I feel like. And so, he says like 5K or 4K or something. And Charles is like, no, we can do 1,500. And he's like, okay, 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 bet. And Charles throws out a low number, like 300 too, but they're like, no, 1,500. And so Charles gets Civil's number and he's like, okay, I'll text you the address. And Civil lets him know that he'll be off at 2 a.m. I'm like, dang, Civil gonna do something strange for some change.
No, for real. But you know what? I didn't really pick up on the fact that he was asking so many questions. So I agree with you that maybe it is his first time. Because I feel like if it wasn't his first time, he would have just been like, this is how
Here's
much
a
it is.
number.
And I'll do
Hmm.
this, like, standing firm on it.
Hmm.
So yeah,
This might be his first time. He like, how much can I get? Damn.
he
But
green.
this gonna get messy because Syl supposed to be helping Charles rob his,
Angel.
yeah, Syl supposed to be helping Angel rob Charles' daddy. So like
Hmm.
it's just messy.
Yeah. Now, see, I was instantly thinking that back when Silvo and him first were talking at the bar, because I was like, now, aren't you supposed to be, waiting for Angel them to let you know to follow them? So how can you follow them, but then he's trying to get you to come back to his place? You know,
Syl giving slow vibes too, so
Silvo
he
is
doesn't seem
giving,
like
I'm
the
just trying to get
brightest
any money
crayon.
I can get.
Right. He's not the brightest crayon in the box.
So after that little scene, Calvin and Mallory, they're waiting for the elevator. And, Calvin's like, oh, you couldn't get another driver. And Mallory's like, yeah, Jules couldn't get one. So this is going to be your last time. Like, you're going to drive me home. And yeah, this will be your last night working. And so they get inside of the elevator. And she's just like, I can't believe like you were talking to me that way. And he's like, I've had enough of your attitude. And they just have this kind of little like, he's being the like dominant one. And things get real spicy in that elevator, y'all, which, we already could tell that it was kind of building up. And he pauses the elevator and they get to doing their business in there, y'all. It was getting hot and heavy in the elevator.
Yes. Oh my goodness. That elevator scene was so steamy. I mean, all of that, I feel like sexual tension was building up for a minute now.
Yeah, I agree.
All that talking he was doing had to have some follow-up.
I kind of feel like Mallory also was just like easily wooed from the attention of like from Calvin and just like how he was acting. Cause I feel like maybe like he definitely, I think, is like the first person she's done anything with outside of like Roy, I think.
We don't know. I feel like it's taken some time. It's been like a couple episodes since that backseat scene, and she's been treating him ever since, like stay in your place. I feel
Hmm.
like now he's just had the balls and they've had the opportunity and moment for some space and opportunity.
Yeah. Which I guess him kind of like standing up for her could have definitely did it as well. Like
Yeah.
with the whole Roy thing that she probably was like, oh wow, like, that could have aided in that.
So back at the club, it's closing time, and Charles is passed out at the bar. He's looking at his phone and watch, and no, Delinda wakes him up, like, boy, get up, get out of here. He's looking for his phone and watch, and Delinda calls security over to kick him out. And so Kimmy goes outside, and Angel's there, and he lets Kimmy know that Salvo's in on this and that they're going to be driving his car. And Kimmy's like, she's like, I don't want him to get hurt. And I'm like, okay, that made me think something. And so they pull off in Savo's Mustang and they pull up to a nice, like middle class suburban house. And Angel is like wowed over this house. And Kimmy's like, his main house, would make this look like a shack.
Hmm.
And Kimmy again asks, I don't want him to get hurt. And she's like, where is your guy though? I thought he was going to meet us here. And Angel's like, I'll call him, I'll call him later. This kept making me think, I hope nothing, I feel like this is like foreshadowing something bad is going to happen. Cause like 2 times she's like, I don't want him to get hurt.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing too. Like, but also it's like we know something's gonna happen because
Yeah.
that's just every show, like something's
Mhm.
always gonna happen. But yeah, because she kept saying that, I was like, yeah, something's definitely gonna happen.
So they go into the house, and Horace is sitting there in the living room smoking a cigar. And he tells Kimmy that she can stay downstairs, and they're gonna head upstairs.
Horace and Angel, they make their way upstairs. Kimmy, she goes to the kitchen. She's just chilling, and we can kind of see in the background that there's like a little like TV or laptop or
Mhm.
something, and it's showing like four different angles of like security cameras. But I don't think she notices it when she first walks in. But I instantly like saw it when she came into the kitchen. I was like, oh, so there's security cameras like at this house. And, upstairs, Angel, he's like texting and walking over to pour a drink. And Horace is, he's just kind of looking at Angel because, they're in a new location. And I feel like Horace was just a little bit paranoid, rightfully so. But he's just like, oh, who are you? Who are you texting? And Angel's like, oh, it's just my baby mama. Like, it's just, I'm just making sure like she's good. And so he pours them a drink and it's the same, I think he said bourbon that they
Mhm.
had previously. And like Horace is like, yeah, I remember you said you liked it. So I'm like, okay, wait. Horace is kind of like, you know, he's really showing he's got this little crush on Angel, I think.
Yeah.
And you know, Angel pours them both a drink. He walks back over to Horace and like gives him a glass. And Angel is really pissing me off, honestly, in this scene because
Yeah, he's not playing it cool.
like you are not like you're making it very obvious that like something weird is going on because you don't normally be texting this much when you're with him.
Hmm.
And so he even sits next to Horace. As soon as he sits down, he pulls out his phone again and he's like texting, which we know he's probably communicating with his friend, the male
Hmm.
stripper. But Horace asks again, like, who are you texting so much? And Angel's like, still my baby mama, like, still talking to her. And then we go back downstairs. We see, Kimmy is still down there, and she's getting a phone call, and the name on the phone is saying it's Rain, and she's looking at it like, Rain's calling me, like.
Disbelief.
Yeah, like, is this really Rain calling me? So then she answers it, and she's like, is this Rain? Like, is this Rain? And Rain's like, yes, girl, like it's me. And Kimmy's just like, how? Like, how can this be? Like, I went to the hospital. They said you were dead. Your bed was empty. And she's like, no, some man came and got me moved to this really nice hospital. And
I
Kimmy's
knew
just
it.
like, oh my gosh. And at this moment, she notices the screen that has security cameras on it, and she sees that there are some people walking into some area of the house. Like it wasn't the front because she walked past the front. So I was kind of curious as to like,
Maybe a back door.
yeah, like what area they were walking in, but they're walking in and she's just like, oh no, 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 no. And like like hangs up the phone and she's about to go upstairs.
Yeah. So she's running up the stairs when that scene ends. And then the next scene, we see the yellow Lambo that was in that picture back at the tow yard, the yellow Lambo that we're assuming is Charles's car. This Lambo gets lit up by a bunch of bullets, like AKs, lighted up. It explodes into the air.
Hmm.
And that's where this episode ends. Some twists and turns. You know what? The first thing though, this Lambo, who do you think's in this Lambo? Do you think it's Charles or Salvo? Because Charles was looking for his phone and keys when he got waken up at the club.
Yeah, I was thinking it was the Salvo guy
Like
because
it could be Salvo.
yeah, because when they were waking up Charles, he was clearly like passed out.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody clearly like took his stuff. And they're at a strip club. It's not like somebody in the strip club gonna be like, oh no, y'all are taking this man's stuff. Like,
Yeah.
you know, if they can get some money, they gonna get some money. And so I feel
Okay,
like it was not him in the car. And also I hated this. I didn't hate this scene, but I hated the way Tyler Perry's editors, whoever was the one responsible for making the car blow up into the air. Like that the way it didn't even it went up and then instantly like came down. Like y'all could have had it
Yeah,
kind of like fall down. It was just like
that's okay. That's okay. It was crazy looking. It was crazy looking, but they on a different budget, but I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I definitely, I did not think Rain was dead right away, but they definitely played it out by waiting until this episode to bring it up again.
Hmm.
Was a great twist, I feel like.
Yeah, and I feel like that makes so much sense why Horace is always like, Kimmy, like, what is wrong with you, girl? Like, I done moved the friend to the hospital, which in her defense, though, he didn't tell her he moved Rain. He
They
never
both
mentioned
don't
it.
talk about nothing.
Yeah.
She could have said something, he could have said something,
Yeah, true.
but he thought that she would have just known everything. But like she went there and Shorty in the bed next to her said that she was dead, which again, how can you just take the word of this person?
Hmm.
But again, she's not supposed to be there, so she's not following up no questions to no nurses or anything.
Right. It was definitely some communication issues on on both ends regarding Rain. But yeah, I do feel like that is odd that you wouldn't tell her that you moved her
Yeah, why
friend,
wouldn't you say that? Like
or
I
even
moved
say
your
like,
friend
have you
today.
went to go see, like, because how is she gonna visit her if she don't know where she's at?
Yeah.
But then also Kimmy, like, well, no, I think Kimmy, she just wasn't gonna say anything to Horace anyway, because she already just felt like, well, you never went and saw her. Because if I think she felt like if you had went and saw her, you would have said that you went and saw
Hmm.
her.
So, what do you think Calvin's motives are with Mallory? Like, do you think this is genuine or do you think he's got some ulterior motives?
Definitely some ulterior motives. I don't
Yeah.
know how big the motives are because it seems like he's just probably going to target Mallory,
Hmm.
but it inadvertently it would target the whole company, I guess. So
We don't know. He might want to be kept. Who knows?
true, he might be fine living that type of life.
I do feel my girl Mallory needed some good D in her life. Like, I feel like she needed this. She's been stressed out. She's been carrying this whole Bellery family on her back for a long time.
Hmm. I feel like I hope we kind of get to see her just kind of like snap a little bit at least at Roy. I mean, we already see her kind of like treat him, and talk to him crazy, but like I want to see her be like, "Yeah, I did this with Calvin and this
She's not gonna
and."
do that. How crazy she be acting over Roy. She not gonna tell him. I think if anything, Calvin might blackmail her a little bit. I hope he doesn't, but he might.
I definitely feel like Mallory definitely needs like a friend. Obviously, Jules is not really, I think if it had to come between Mallory and the family, he probably would go with the family, I think.
Mhm. Well,
So
he's
I don't
had
really think
Mallory's
Jules is
back
his
so
friend.
far. He hasn't said that Mallory hit Ina. He blamed it on Roy.
That's true. I don't know. I
And,
mean,
and that
maybe
might
she has
just
a
play
friend in
out,
Joel.
maybe, but that just might play out better for optics if it's Roy who hit them because the family's still gonna stand behind Roy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Mm.
Good episode.
Thanks for tuning in to our review of episode 7 of Beauty in Black. Let us know what you thought about this episode and make sure you answer our poll on Spotify. Who do you think was in the yellow Lambo explosion?
Yes, let us know. And if you don't want to miss any upcoming episodes, make sure you follow us on Spotify and subscribe on YouTube. You can also follow our show page on Instagram for the latest updates and reminders. I'm your girl Harmony.
And I'm your girl, Yelly. Make sure you come back and join us for more mystery, murder, and melanin. Bye.
Bye.